our very one beloved Lord, Sri Devchandraji. I cannot thank enough Pracharya Sri Maharaj, my Guruji, for guiding me through this, who is actually initiating this and guiding me through this journey. He is with us today. So my humble pranam and salutations to him. I cannot thank enough Suraj Sivakotiji for hosting this event, providing technical support. Surenji, I thank you so much. And all the Sundar Sajis and the kids joining us live. This initiation was taken by Sri Krishna Pranami Sadhanalaya. I was fortunate enough to spend my 3 precious years there, learn about Prananath. And what fascinated me the most was his comparative study of religions, because he tried to bring together 2 diverging faiths, diverging beliefs, and often there existed the dissensions, the Vedic traditions and the Western religious understanding, Western religious philosophies that we understand by the term of Katev tradition, Katev Parampara. So I spent my 3 precious years there, and with Guruji's guidance, I got to know more about Satguru Shree Devchandraji, Mahamati Sri Prananath and their teachings. So I would like to welcome you to the second day of our Beetak Discourse. So when we thought about this program, this Beetak Discourse, we thought of as the kids that are not much familiar with Prananath's philosophy, unaware of Sri Krishna Pranami Dharma and its tenets. There are kids who feel more comfortable learning about this faith in English, so this was the initiation taken. So let's start up today with what Beetak really is. So if we go by the word meaning Beetak, it means the events that happened in the past. It is the history. If we narrow it down, it is the history of the lives of Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath, who were the founders of Sri Krishna Pranami faith. We also know it as Nijananda Sampradaya. So it pertains to the lives and biographies of Satguru Sri Devchandraji.
Hey everyone, today.
The question comes right away in our minds then. Why do we need to know about Satguru Sri Devchandraji or Mahamati Prananath? Why are we learning about them? What is special about them? Historically, there have been 2 religious traditions, one originating in the East, like the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, the great teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the great teachings of Bhagavatam. And there is another tradition that originated in the West. It started with Moses, the Torah, Songs of Solomon, with Genesis, and started and continued through Bible, and the tradition ended with the revelations of teachings in Quran. So the Katev Parampara followed all the way from Moses to, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad. So these 2 traditions existed for a long time, and they had, due to geographical differences and others that we'll talk about later on, different teachings, different belief systems, and due to those differences, there were religious infightings, bigotry, and so many wars and fights occurred because of those differences. While Mahamati Prananath and Satguru Shree Devchandraji came up with an idea of religious harmony. So we're learning about Satguru Shree Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath. This Beetak is important because these are the two personalities, divine one, whose advent into this world was prophesied in different scriptures, both Vedic and Abrahamic. Let me quote one of the prophecies mentioned in Brahma Vaivarta Puran, one of the Vedic scriptures. It states that Abhavino Bhavishyanti Munayo Brahma Rupina Utpannaya Krita Yuge Pradhana Purushasraya Katha Yogena Tansarvan Puja Ishyanti Manava Yat Puja Prabhavenaiva Jiva Srishterudharana. So something that has never happened before is happening, is going to happen in this Kali Yuga, in this age, when the divine souls residing with the Lord Supreme, the Supreme Brahma Aksharat Sri Krishna, incarnate in this world. They will be true to their hearts, devoted, meek, and humble, and they would rescue and liberate all the jivas, all the souls, with their devotion, utmost devotion, and submission to the Lord. So the coming of the divine souls like Sundarbai, that we know by the name of Satguru Devchandraji, and Indravati, who is also known as Prananath, was prophesied in the Vedic scriptures. Right? That is why these are not normal personalities. These are divine personalities that were prophesied in those scriptures. Bhagwan Mahesh, Lord Shiva, in the revelation of the transcendent knowledge that came in form of Maheshwar Tantra, states the coming or the advent of Satguru Shree Devchandraji in Maheshwar Tantra. It states, Divya Brahma Purashyaha Brahma Dvaitasya Vashana Tasa Meka Cha Parama Subhaga Sundari Piya Marut Deshe Kule Shuddhe Nirupam Sha Dharishyasi Chandra Nama Pumam Loke Harishyatya Subham Gatim. What it means is, from the divine abode of Paramdham, the souls of the Lord, living in non-dual form, will descend upon the earth, bearing the human body. This soul, this divine soul, would be the dear and leading soul that would appear in the desert country or desert town and would be known to the world as Devchandraji. And he would liberate the souls of the world, washing away all their sins. So there have been the prophecies. The sages and saints have foretold the coming of Satguru and Mahamati Prananath. And they are the ones with their transcendent knowledge. They are the ones awakening souls lost in this karmic cycle, the cycle of birth and death. Such prophecies about the great incarnations, the advent of great incarnations, can be found in Abrahamic scriptures as well. There is a concept of second coming of Christ in Bible. There is a concept of Imam Mahdi in Quran. As we can see in King James Bible version 14:2, John chapter 14 and 2, what Jesus tells to his disciples, in my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. That means there are big mansions in his Father's house, the Lord Supreme's house. And Jesus continues, I go to prepare a house for you, a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. And that where I am, there ye may be also. Wherever you find me, you will find yourself also. The similar prophecy of the advent of Imam Mahdi, who is going to reveal the underlying secrets of the scriptures, the marifat, the knowledge of marifat, the knowledge of holistic understanding of the Lord is happening through Imam Mahdi. The advent of Satguru and Devchandraji Maharaj fulfills all the prophecies. So, according to the descriptions provided in Tarkam, it is the incarnation of Buddha Kalki Avatar. It's stated in Vedic scriptures. In Hinduism, as stated in Beetak, Lal Das ji states, "Piche avatar hoega Buddha Kalki Sathama." So, Satguru and Devchandraji are the Buddha Kalki incarnation that was prophesied in Vedic scriptures. And it is clearly stated in all those prophecies that with them, with the advent of Buddha Kalki Avatar, with the advent of Imam Mahdi, with the advent of Devchandraji Maharaj, as stated in Maheshwar Tantra, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, with them, the jivas, the souls of this world are going to be enlightened with the knowledge of the beyond and will have attained the awakened consciousness that we know by the term Jagrit Buddhi. And what they will receive is the Beetak Ilm. His Mahamati states that word in many places in his revealed knowledge. That is the uncontested knowledge. Knowledge that cannot be disputed. Knowledge that is unparalleled. Knowledge that cannot be called into question. Dear Sundar Saji, so this Beetak is nothing but the lives and teachings of Satguru and Devchandraji. Because with them, the world is getting a true understanding of all the underlying questions of human existence, the prevalence of suffering in this world, and the relationship between the soul and the Lord. We learn about Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath also because the world was awaiting their arrival. Because with them, the shining light, the illumination of divine wisdom was coming, and it was going to eliminate the darkness of ignorance, the illusion that was engulfing the world. While the scriptures were telling the disciples, the followers, that all the religions were basically guiding humanity towards the path of righteousness. As Amrit Bindu Upanishad says, Gavam Aneka Varnanam. The cows can be of different colors. They can be of different heights. But Chirasya Asti Eka Varnataha. But the milk would be of same color. Chiravat Pashyate Jnanam. So the knowledge that we find around the world is just like the milk. Linginastu gavam yatha. The essence of the knowledge that we find in those scriptures are the same, but how they are interpreted. Linginastu gavam yatha, the knowledge that relays the identical message is explained differently as cows look. So cows can be brownish, cows can have long horns, they can be blackish, but the milk would be white. Similarly, the underlying knowledge of all these scriptures is the same, but they can be explained differently. Ekam sat vipra bahuda badanti. Truth is the same, but can be explained in different way. So there were identical messages, universal messages. The religions of the world were trying to unify the world, bring world peace and harmony. But that was not the case, because the underlying message of those religions were not properly understood. That is why the world was awaiting for such a knowledge that would synthesize, bring together all this sectarian knowledge into one, and unify the world. As Mahamati says, Nija naam soi zahir hua jo sabduni raah dekh. Mukta desi brahmanda ko aaye brahma atma shata. Besides showing the path of salvation, as such, the knowledge of Tartam culminated a new era of religious harmony, as it revealed the similarities between the Eastern and the Western religious traditions. The prophecies, the awaiting of Satguru and Prananath was felt around the globe. Everybody was waiting for their arrival. So Mahamati Prananath says he had 3 missions, 3 goals coming into this world. Saheba aaye ina jimi karaj karane tin. The Lord Supreme himself descended in this world to do basically 3 things. What were those 3 things? So sabka jhagada metake ya duniya ya din. Brodha sura ashura ko duje jade paigambar aur ved kateb chudavane sahib aaye in a thod. Make peace between communities and religions. So the first goal of Mahamati and Satguru's advent in this world was the societal and religious harmony. Because during that time, India had to go through a lot of religious intolerance because Aurangzeb was ruling India, the Islamic leader, who wanted nothing but to convert India into a Muslim country. He wanted nothing but establish a Muslim world. He wanted nothing to do with Hinduism or religious harmony. He just wanted everyone converted into Islam. So he was torturing Hindus. He was levying higher tax rate for Hindus. He was trying to persuade Hindu kings to align with him so that it could be done. So the first goal of Mahamati Prananath's coming into this world was making peace between the communities. There were a lot of communal fightings as well. So Mahamati Prananath's teachings, the coming of Mahamati Prananath and Satguru Devchandraji was to establish the communal harmony as well. So there is a lot of talk about gender equality in Mahamati Prananath's teachings. Mahamati also talked about equality among races, equality among caste, equality between the riches and the poor, haves and the have-nots. So that was his first goal. The second goal was to clear out the differing messages of the messengers and the religious leaders. And the third reason, one of the most important goals of Mahamati Prananath's teachings was to unify the Vedic and Abrahamic religious traditions, Veda Kateva Chudavane, because they were basically the same. They were basically telling the same. The underlying message of both Vedic and Abrahamic scriptures was to guide souls towards their ultimate happiness, the ultimate goal of liberation, the ultimate goal of moksha. So they were basically telling the same, but there were fightings because they had some differences in rituals. They had some differences about, let's say, how to pray, what dresses to wear, whom we can marry, some basic guidelines about living a life happily. But in deeper sense, they had the same underlying messages. Is Lord Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mama Bhartmanu Bhartante Manushya Partha Sarvasa. To but all one goal are marching, everyone. Although they may seem to walk in the path divergent, they may seem to be walking in a different path. The goal is I, the universal self, self-consciousness. So all these religions were guiding humanity into attaining that transcendent knowledge, attaining liberation, self-consciousness, to realize the self. The text that could not be understood, the scriptures that seemingly had differing masses, but the underlying theme was the same. There had historically been the religious dissensions, religious fighting between the religions of the East and religions of the West. And within the religions of the East, there were fightings. And the religions of the West had so many wars in the name of God. As you might be aware of Holy Crusade, the Christian expansion, and what happened during the time of Prophet Muhammad and beyond, where millions of people were forcefully converted into Islam. So Mahamati Prananath came to this world with this understanding, with this knowledge that would allay all these religious fightings, hatred between religious traditions, and the religious intolerance. So their arrival was awaited. That is the reason why we are learning about Satguru and Prananath. What they had to go through, what they had to endure, how they received this understanding is what we are going to talk about, is what we're going to learn about. I had a friend, he talked about God being biased one day, right? Because let's say what is happening in countries like Syria or Afghanistan, or we can even call on countries like Nepal, where people suffer a lot due to the political turmoil, poverty, and things of that nature, right? And we are here in the United States. I'm here in the United States. It feels as if I'm living a life of comfort. I can work 5 days a week and I have all the means to at least have the basic needs fulfilled. The people living in those villages in Nepal, let's say in Rukum, Rulpa, in those areas, the people living in Syria and Afghanistan, they may not have 2 meals. They may not have roofs over their head, and they may not have any clothes to cover their body during summer and winter alike. So is God biased? Because God is treating people living in the United States and Nepal differently. We can work the same hours and we can have everything here in the United States, and we may not have enough to feed our kids back home in Nepal. He was talking about God not being kind and merciful. So while we're talking about Beetak as the lives and teachings of Satguru and Prananath, Beetak is much more than that. Because Beetak gives answers to all these questions. Why is this world the way it is? Why is there so much suffering in this world? The world that we say is created by the God, who is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. We call God to be Satchidananda. So God is full of bliss. And how could God create a world that is nowhere near in that blissful state? Beetak is an answer to that question. Beetak is an answer to the question, why God who sent these scriptures, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavats, the Puranas, and the Abrahamic scriptures like Bible and Quran had differing messages for people of the world. Somewhere God says, pray me 5 times. Somewhere God says, be nice to each other. Somewhere God says, you have to make a pilgrimage to Mecca, to Jerusalem. Why does God have differing messages in those scriptures? And questions like, why does not God end the world's suffering? As you all know, more than 4 million lives have been lost to this COVID pandemic. More than 600,000 people have been killed by this pandemic in the United States alone. The world is going through a rough patch. Everybody is praying to God. Hindus are praying to their Hindu gods. Muslims are praying to Allah. And Christians are praying to Jesus and the Holy Father. Why is God not listening to them? What does it take for God to intervene? These are the questions that we find answers to in this Beetak. So Beetak is not only the lives, the history, the biography of Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath. Beetak is a history of creation. Beetak is an answer to all the questions that human may possibly have and not found the answers for perennial time, from historic times. So that is what Beetak is. Due to these religious fightings, religious dissensions, some people may be disgusted with religions and they may want to abolish religions to mitigate these hostilities. If there were no religions, there would not be any fightings between Hindus and Muslims or Muslims and Christians or vice versa. People may be talking in such a way, in such a tone. Bhagwan Das, one of the leading Indian philosophers, religious scholars, talks about this concept. He says, as well kill the body to cure the disease. To uproot religion successfully, Bhagwan Das says, the people who call for the abolishment of religion should exterminate pain and death. So long as people experience and fear death and diseases, they will not stop to crave for the consolation of religion. They would always go to their gods, to their belief systems, to their religious teachings, to their temples and mosques and churches. So religions are here to exist. And we do not want the world where people are fighting in the name of God. That is why Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath incarnated into this world to mitigate, to allay the dissensions, the fightings between religious traditions. That is why we hear about, we listen to the Beetak Discourse, because these are not ordinary human beings. These are the divine personalities that were sent by Lord Supreme Aksharatit Krishna to awaken the lost souls, forgetful of their true nature, true potentials. That is why we listen to Beetak. Let's talk about the glory of Beetak for a moment. Why is it significant that we listen to the Beetak Discourse? When we feel we are down, when we feel demotivated, when we feel like we want to give up to our pursuits, to our efforts, we listen to the biographies and life stories of successful people who persevered through those rough patches, who never gave up, right? There was a child that was born in 1847 in Milan, Ohio, as the youngest son of 7 children. He was in a poor health early on. He was not good at his studies. One day, his teacher called him adult. In Nepali, it is kuheko alu. Someone who could not clearly think, who was always confused about things. So his mom got really upset, pulled him out of school, and started homeschooling him. He was fascinated by mechanical things, and chemical experiments. He started off selling newspapers, candies in train carts. And he set up a laboratory for his chemistry experiments and printing press. One day it so happened that his laboratory was burnt. At the age of 12, that child almost lost all his hearing abilities. And in his biography, he stated that he lost his hearing because somebody grabbed him by his ear and lifted to the train. He was not discouraged. Never gave up. He never gave up, but persevered through those challenges. Tried a lot, failed a lot, and eventually became one of the most famous and prolific inventors of all times. Sundar Shahji, that person is none other than Thomas Alva Edison. When he wrote his biography, he said, "My mother was the making of me. She was so true, so sure of me, and I felt I had something to live for, someone I must not disappoint." The invention of that guy, Thomas Alva Edison, include incandescent light bulb, the phonograph, the motion picture camera, improved the telegraph and telephone, and many more others. In 84 years of his life, he had 193 scientific patents. He had rights to those discoveries. And he also became a successful manufacturer and a businessman. When we hear about Thomas Alva Edison and other successful people, like a waiter who became one of the most highly paid actors in Bollywood that we know by the name of Akshay Kumar, right? Shah Rukh Khan, who could not afford to take a train to go to the film city in Mumbai from where he lived, is one of the world's richest celebrities currently. When we hear about, when we get to know about the success stories of these people, we get motivated. We learn, they inspire us to push harder, to work harder, to never give up. We listen to these stories all the time. When we feel we're down, we listen to these motivational stories. We listen to Satguru, we listen to Sandeep Maheshwari. There are so many motivational speakers that we can find in YouTube, and there has been millions of books written about how to be successful. So what does this Beetak entail? What does this Beetak deliver to us? Is the valuable insights into self-awakening. It gives us an insight to understanding the secrets of happiness. It gives us invaluable teachings and ideas to self-awakening, self-realization, blissful life, union with the Lord, realization of the Supreme. Because the path that Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath traded on, walked on, is a shining light is the clearest, transparent path that everyone can take and realize what they could in their lives. Sundar Shahji, that is what Beetak is. That is the significance of this Beetak. We understand the essence of all these scattered teachings of Vedas and Upanishads, and understand why the world the way it is. Why is there so much suffering in this world? The clearest understanding of human existence can be found in the teachings of Satguru and Prananath. And their lives become the examples themselves, right, to guide us towards that ultimate happiness, that divine bliss, and eventual subsequent salvation or moksha. So this is what we are expecting to learn in this discourse. We are expected, the objective of this Beetak discourse is making everyone aware of the teachings and lives of Mahamati Prananath and Satguru Devchandraji, so that they would have a holistic understanding of this world and human existence.